Thank you so much for joining us here today for the Digital Filipinas Philippine Fintech Festival, Hackathon and Pitchfest AMA. Ask Me Anything. We have less than a month before the much awaited Philippine Fintech Festival this October 17 to 21 at the Green Sun, the home of Digital Filipinas on Pasong Tamo, Makati. Today, we'll be head to head with the various industry leaders in the Web 3.0 and green finance. Feel free to tune in to know more about the industries and hear from the leaders that we'll have in this event. To open the event, let us all welcome Digital Filipinas and World Fintech Festival convener, Fintech Philippines Association, trustee and executive director, and Geyser Maclang, co-founder, Amor Maclang.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Magandang araw wherever you're calling from anywhere in the world. I am extremely excited to welcome all of you today, especially those who are calling in and watching over various social networks. Essentially today is a webinar and an AMA like no other. So we continuously look to our startups as the direct funnel for innovation within our Digital Filipinas ecosystem. So by way of Pitchfests and Hackathons, we really look forward to continuously receiving the best and the brightest talents in the Philippines, bringing them to the rest of the world, and also continuously having them interact with the incumbent market leaders in the Philippines. This for us is one of the hearts of Digital Filipinas. Yes, just like the Doctor and Doctor Who, we have more than one heart. And sorry, maybe too geek for this afternoon. Now, listen, I would like to just very much welcome and thank three important people today. Two of those people, two of the other institutions that we're grateful for are not here, but let me start off with them. Together with the Monetary Authority of Singapore and Oliver Wyman, it is my honor to announce that we are running two hackathons, specifically on the Web3 and also on the green finance and sustainable finance ecosystem. I will not repeat what my champion for Digital Filipinas for Web3, Wei, who's here today, will talk about. But in the case of green finance and sustainable finance, the Philippines sadly is lagging behind its many neighbors in ASEAN. But in this instance of Digital Filipinas for 2022, for Philippine Fintech Festival, we're going to start turning that around. So special shout out once again to the Monetary Authority of Singapore and Oliver Wyman for giving our startups a quick, fast track, not really quick, but a fast track to SFF. I would also like to acknowledge three experts and co-advocates and champion pillars in Digital Filipinas. I told you guys, we ride on the shoulders of giants. First, I would like to welcome a good friend and a long-standing partner and our champion for anything related to startups, Mr. Startup himself, Mr. Carlo Calimon, who together with Startup Village, we will be doing a series of pitchfests and hackathons throughout the entire year. And this will be across various industries in the Philippines that we promise to tech up. I'd also like to acknowledge Michael from KPMG. So special shout out to one of our long-standing partners in Digital Filipinas. Hello, Noel. Hello, Nikki. Hello, Marielle of KPMG. Together with you guys, not only are you ensuring that whatever commitments we do during the festival is monitored and carried on throughout the year, amongst our multiple stakeholders, you're also championing for us ESG and green finance. I can't wait to champion with you as we bring the Philippines to that next level. And a guy who needs no introduction in Digital Filipinas, The only way to the metaverse is through this gentleman. Wei, thank you so much for opening our eyes in terms of the unique role that the Philippines has to play in the metaverse and also overall in this fully decentralizing world. I'm not going to preempt your message. I never get tired hearing it. But thank you for also championing all the many startups and all the possibilities that the Philippines has to offer in this space. Now, the heart of Digital Filipinas is how to ensure that we are able to raise the ecosystem for technology and innovation. And at the core of it, we'll be continuously working with startups via Pitchfests and hackathons. I would also like at this point to do a special shout out for our tech stack champion for Digital Filipinas in 2022 and 2023. So shout out to our friends in Alibaba Cloud. Now, so I'm going to pause for now. I cannot contain my excitement, but really you came here for Michael, Wei, and Carlo. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay po kayong lahat in a Digital Pilipinas.
Thank you so much, Amor. Now, just before we go on to the next segment, may we ask all our guests to turn on their camera for a group photo? Right. Vince, just your kind assistance for this.
All right, guys. 3, 2, 1, smile. Another one. 3, 2, 1, smile. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for
Mabuhay.
that.
Mabuhay.
Thanks so much, Amor. Now, to set the stage and the theme of the webinar, please welcome the serial entrepreneur, mentor, educator, and startup advocate, co-founder and president of Startup Village, Carlo Calimon.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. First and foremost, good afternoon to my fellow panelists. Always excited to be with you guys in the various events that we've been a part of leading up to today and leading up to, the major event happening this coming October. So at the same time, thank you also to our friends who are watching live on Facebook and attending this session. And thank you to our friend Amor for having us at Startup Village be a participant in this wonderful endeavor. So we're here this afternoon because we want to be able to encourage the different startups that are listening to us out there, right, to join us in two wonderful events, the Hackathon and Pitchfest that's happening during the Philippine Fintech Festival. This is a wonderful opportunity for you, right? And you should take advantage of this opportunity. Why? Because this gives you a chance to connect directly to various organizations and help them with their current issues, right? Current problems, and match these with solutions that you already have existing. Or as we say in Startup Village, there might be an opportunity for you, right, to address their concerns by just tweaking your current solutions, right, to suit these clients' needs. Later on, you will find out that the hackathon isn't your typical hackathon that we've come to become accustomed to prior to the pandemic. Where everybody gathers in one venue, right? You build and create an MVP, right, then and there. But in this case, you are given a chance in the comforts of your homes with a little less pressure, right, to come up with a proposal based on several problem briefs that our friends from Digital Filipinas through the Philippine Fintech Festival will put together and share with you. In this case, the wonderful thing about it is the fact that you are able to specifically address a known need, right, of the industry based from the industry players themselves. I know a lot of times we're in, the startups that we have helped over the years need to validate, they need to guess, they need to find out exactly what the industry, what the corporation actually, their problems and what problems needs to be solved. In effect, some of the times we're engaged in a guessing game to figure out, hey, is this the real problem that these companies encounter, right? In this case, you have the opportunity to hear directly what the issues are and address these issues based on the proposal that you will be submitting for this particular hackathon. Similarly, with the Pitchfest, this is also a wonderful opportunity because as you will find out later, there will be certain areas, verticals, industries, right, wherein companies also have expressed, right, what their needs are, their issues are, and they are eager to listen to you, come up with solutions for them through a pitching competition. So take advantage of this opportunity. Startup Village is eager to be a participant, a supporter, a community partner of this endeavor, because this is aligned with Startup Village's vision of bringing together, right, startups, entrepreneurs, industry, corporations, so that everybody can work together towards coming up with new and disruptive solutions and innovations that can truly address the problems that we are encountering on a daily basis. We at Startup Village, we were conceptualized and created, right? Because we believe that we need to be able to match you, the startups, with knowledge, with mentorship, with access to collaborators, access to markets, and at the same time also access to investors. And this partnership with Digital Filipinas through the Philippine Fintech Festival that eventually leads also to the World Fintech Festival, we believe that this is a great path for all you startups out there within and outside of the Startup Village network, right? To be able to get your products out to market, to gain the traction that you need, to gain the recognition that you need, to be able to move your innovations forward so that more people can appreciate the impact, the positive impact that these can contribute to specific industries. Given this, Startup Village is eager to work with our friends from Digital Filipinas and the other people participating in this program. Because at the end of the day, we know that we cannot do it by ourselves. We need organizations, individuals to come together to make this happen. Because in Startup Village, what we believe is it takes a village to raise a startup. What better way, right? This is one village on its own, and we can help each other, right? Come to market, get our innovations out, and come up with wonderful solutions that can change the way we live our lives for the better. So once again, thank you to our friends from Digital Filipinas and our other co-panelists this afternoon for being here. And once again, let's take advantage of this hackathon and Pitchfest, right? So that we are able to get there. And there are, just to preempt, there are wonderful incentives for you guys to participate in this particular event or in this particular activities. I don't want to, and I'm so excited when I found out what the prizes were, but I'll try to, zip my mouth and wait for the actual announcements later on. But once again, thank you very much to the startups that are here. And take note, feel free to also share this opportunity with others because we need everybody, right, to come together, right, and share the success of each one. Once again, good afternoon, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you during the Philippine Fintech Festival. Good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you so much, Carlo, for opening the Hackathon AMA. Now, as we go on to a more in-depth discussion surrounding the hackathon, first up, we have Web 3.0. We have invited one of our esteemed partners of Digital Filipinas who will talk about more of this subject. Let us all welcome CEO of CoinsPH, Wade.
Hey everybody. Before I start, there's actually like a very small presentation that I kind of want to run through, just to give everybody a little bit background about myself, about coins, and then and also about sort of what's going on in the Philippines today, and then how an outside investor, right, which I think is one of the goals of the hackathon, is basically one is to build something, all right, and the other one is basically to pitch something, right? And then I think speaking to the hackathon crowd, I kind of want to sort of like, for me, as an investor for the last 10, 15 years, and then also currently in my role as coins as a builder, someone who's actually investing not just dollars but actually time and people, and building up the team in the build industry, but building up the digital asset industry here, sort of like what I see as the potential transformative nature of digital assets, I think, for the Philippines, and also sort of like, and I'll probably just come in as more of a investor perspective, for the participants in the hackathon, as you prepare your projects, and then I'll prepare your pitches for the investors. I think the topic that I want to sort of next slide, please. The topic I'm talking about is focused on digital asset. So a little bit of background by myself. I'm currently the CEO of Coins, which is the largest licensed cryptocurrency and fiat exchange here in the Philippines. Prior to Coins, I was a CFO at Binance, where I basically ran the investment business there for about 3+ years. Did a lot of deals. Was actually pretty much at the center of the cryptocurrency Web3 movements before it was known as Web3. It was just cryptocurrency then, and those digital assets. And then prior to that, I was the vice chairman, of Grinder. So, and then I was a CFO at a couple of Nasdaq listed companies based out of Beijing. So I've had a pretty diverse background in terms of both operator and investor. If you keep going on the next slide, please. And one of the reasons, sort of like, after leaving Binance, I looked at, a lot of opportunity, a lot of things I could do. But one of the opportunities I looked at was actually the Philippines. So this is actually this is probably the most powerful slide from an external investor perspective. I think that's why I think we're going to see, over the last 10 years, maybe there's probably been an under penetration of, venture capital coming into the Philippines. But because of this demographic curve, you're actually going to see much more, private equity and venture capitalists. We're already seeing that, I think, with the digital banks. Each one of them is backed by pretty powerful, organizations, investors, and then as well as, I think, more startups getting funded in the Philippines. Some of the sort of the bottom up ones like Paymaya, YGG, and then maybe even more so, I think, on the digital asset space and the Web3 space. I think from a population perspective, Philippines is the second largest population, second biggest in Southeast Asia behind Indonesia. But then the demographic wise, over half the population is under the age of 30. And then just at the beginning of COVID, more than half the adult population is unbanked. I think that number is a little bit higher now after COVID, but it's still low, right? And then, a couple of things from a growth perspective. We have about $30 billion of remittance coming into the country. And then that number is only going to grow, I think, especially as the US dollar value goes up, and there's more needs sort of to support, friends and family back home. And lastly, from a GDP per capacity, it was sort of in par with Indonesia is. I think one of the comments that I heard from previous session is that, there's like $2 to $3 billion domestic VC funds in Indonesia that were raised over the last 12 months. And in Philippines, local grown VC funds doesn't really exist, or it's actually exists in a very small form. And I think that's something that we hope to change. And I think digital asset is going to lead the way for that. Next slide, please. And I think this is something that is actually quite, I think, enlightening. And I think you saw this is on top of sort of the chain analysis research that came out last week, saying that Philippines is has the second, basically, cryptocurrency ownership penetration, I think, in Asia. And I think this is basically all digital assets. I think I look at digital assets a little bit differently in that I think it includes, cryptocurrencies, and includes NFTs, which are gaming assets, virtual lands, and PFPs, right? And then there is a transparency of ownership on blockchain, and then there's ease of use and transfer. I think after I started using crypto and digital assets, I don't really transfer money using banks anymore. I actually sort of like, especially amongst my peers, about when I do invest and when I send value to people, I usually use blockchain. I use crypto to do that. But one of the more unique nature of digital assets, it conveys ownership, especially for NFTs. I think once you have ownership, then you can actually generate income on that asset, whether that's virtual land or gaming assets. I think one of the reasons why you saw Philippines as sort of the top NFT ownership, out of these 20 countries in the survey, more than sort of like, our peers in Thailand and Malaysia, more and Singapore even, and more so than sort of the more advanced economies like Hong Kong or Canada. Is actually, I think, just because of one game, right? The Axie Infinity game last year drove digital asset ownership through the sort of the gaming NFTs. And then I think that's a massive proof of concept in that you can actually, normal people can actually figure out, because one of the things that people complain about digital assets is it's hard to own, hard to set up, hard to manage. But, with sort of all the guilds that we're setting up to encourage players to sort of come into Axie to play the game and owning it, I think that's a massive proof of concept about, hey, it's not that hard if you just sort of take the time to learn it. And that's what we hope to do at Coin in terms of helping people do that. And I think just in this ecosystem, we've already seen, many startups coming out. Next slide, please. And one of the reasons is I think, just that you're going to see more games coming out, not less games, right? I'm sort of like just in Singapore for these token conferences this week and last week. I'm actually seeing like, a massive proliferation of gaming developers moving into Web3 from Korea, from Japan, from China, from North America, from Latin America, from India. Like these are all people that are actually spending, money and time and resources to develop Web3 games. And I think that's just one bucket, right? That's one asset class. You also have metaverse worlds that's being developed. And then you also have, additional sort of other, maybe even new type of digital assets being formed. So I think that's something that I hope, the perspective I hope to bring, to sort of this hackathon as we sort of come into the Philippines FinTech Festival. So lastly, a quick pitch about coins. I think most people in the Philippines, we've been around since 2014. A lot of people here, I think, bought their first crypto, hopefully quite early when Bitcoin was like 1,000 or 2,000, or Ethereum was at like $10 or $20. Most people bought their first, crypto through coins. And we hope to sort of, make crypto and make blockchain sort of the core, growth, the core focus for our business going forward. I think most of the existing fintechs in the world in the Philippines are built on traditional financial rails, right? Traditional banking rails. We hope to build a new company, a new consumer internet company, a new fintech company that's based on blockchain and crypto rails. So that's sort of like, we're fully licensed by the BSP and as a VASP. And also as an e-wallet and an FX solution provider. So yeah, that's it. I look forward to to seeing and meeting everyone, and then I'll be around here to answer any questions, and then be of support for all the builders out there. Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing everyone at the Philippines FinTech Festival. It's going to be an amazing week. And I think it's going to be it's going to be the landmark. It will be the landmark event, I think, for not just, I think, the fintech industry, but I think for the entire financial industry, for the technology industry, and I think for the Philippines.
All right, thank you so much for your take on Web3, Wei. We look forward to hearing more of the Web3 discussions in the succeeding programs of Digital Pilipinas and, of course, the Philippine FinTech Festival, which will happen on the 17th to 21st of October, 2022. This afternoon, we're now shifting to green finance, which is the other theme in the hackathon. Let us all welcome KPMG's Partner Advisory Head, Deal Advisory Head, and Healthcare Sector, Attorney Michael Garin. All right, so just while waiting for Michael Garin from KPMG, let us first discuss the mechanics of the hackathon in the Philippine FinTech Festival. So with this, let us give the stage to Diego Ramos. Diego, take it away.
Hello everyone. Hi, Carlo. Thank you for joining us for this endeavor. Thank you very much, Highway. So let's just dive into the slide. Can you flash, please? All right. So it's nice to have always a Philippine contribution entry to the this hackathon happening in Singapore, and this will like converge during the Singapore Fintech Festival. So I'm looking forward to your community, Carlos, as well, to get into this like contest. So it's well Philippines represented, no? And of course, next slide, please. All right, so the objective really here is to push the industry for both Web 3.0 and green finance. And next slide, please. All right, we just like to recognize that we are honored, the Digital Filipinas team are honored to have been given the authority to work with the Monetary Authority of Singapore, as well as Oliver Wyman Foundation to have to unlock this program together. And with this one, we really push in terms of innovation and skill set push. It's with the accelerator program designed by MAS. So thank you very much it's a privilege for us to have this kind of opportunity. Next slide, please. Oh, so the the eligibility of this hackathon is open to developers, bootstrap, or early stage startups with fintech centered innovation or services for their value proposition. And we have two themes now. We have the Web3. So I'm sure it should have a basic embedded blockchain technology. And for green finance, we embrace the principles of ESG, or environment, social, and governance. So as we say, the old way of saying, we solve social problems through business, and like this. Next slide, please. All right, so the problem statements are crafted by our partners in Singapore. And by the way, the Philippine hackathon will also hack or answer the problem statements of Singapore, given by Singapore. So it's like the same one. So it's an equal field to solve. So next slide, please. All right, so we will be putting the problem statements on the Philippine Fintech Festival website for your information, but just how you see and how difficult or how challenging it could be. And if you do this, it could really push the industry together. Like I highlighted number 9, how can blockchain technology be used to empower payment while lowering the cost and friction? So as you know, it's a no-brainer. That's why I remember the first pitching deck of coins in early days. The founder Ron and Runer narrowed down the distance. So they make things smaller. So they narrowed all the continents instead of like the line initially was like from 2 days to 7 seconds. So through blockchain, it has that kind of power now. So these are one of the problems for Web3 that you have to support in making your application. So next, problem statements for Web3, please. We have about a lot for Web3. Then we go on the green finance problem statements. Don't worry, guys. All of these will be published on the website. All right. So next, please. So this is the Web3 statements. Next, please. All right. So earlier we're doing a tech run. We're looking at the problem statements, and my attention was just narrowed to number 38, the one that's highlighted in yellow. How can we better measure environmental risk on the properties that are underwritten by insurers to better inform pricing and claims? Instantly, what I can say here is this is like, I'm sure this belongs to something like a 3-prong application partnerships with AI, but what you can probably measure here can justify your app as a web or as a green finance would be measuring the difference of computation if you're going to do it traditional way or you're going to do it your application way. So that's one way of lowering carbon footprint, that kind of measurement and comparison metrics. Yeah. And next slide. Yes. Next slide. All right. Next slide. Okay. This will be published in the website. I just want you all to know Pay special attention to the criteria for judging, because this will make or break your presentation as well. So next. Of course, this is the timeline that we're gonna follow. We're gonna open, and it's actually ongoing, but we're gonna extend the deadline until October 6th. I hope you can finish your registration and application on or before October 6th. There's also a registration link there that we're gonna give you out that you have to complete as well. Selection will be done offline, and then you come. The beauty of this one, if you have your application, you just save yourself a ticket, a hefty ticket to join the Philippine Fintech Festival and have a freebie. You know, it's one way of, that's your benefit. So I want you all to please consider joining the 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 hackathon. And next, please. All right. So if you have we have your QR code, we're now putting in also the link that you can just click if you're on your phones. And next slide, please. All right, so there are two, it is a festival. So aside from the hackathons and the world stage and the Philippine stages and the pillar stages, we also have the Philippine Fintech Pitchfest. Carlo and I have been in the industry for so long, and we've seen Pitchfest as long as we can remember together, pretty much starting together and helping each other along the way. So we've seen, judged, facilitated, organized these kinds of Pitchfest, and I want you all to join the Philippine Fintech Festival Pitchfest. And of course, it's open to startups less than 2 years, or bootstrap stage, or early stage. Pre-launch or launch are okay. Next slide, please. All right, so that's about it. So alpha, beta stages of technology as well. Next stage, please. All right, who are eligible? I think the co-foundership is really moving, whether we don't know who will be our co-founders next year, but we dedicate about 5 teams here to represent the company, the startup. And you just have to be just above 18 years old. This is just for legal purpose. And we will be flashing to you as well the different verticals that we're going to open for you, the vertical requirement startups that you are going to join or hack on or pitch on. Next slide, please. Okay, we have 11. Actually, wow, that's a lot. Carlo, anong favorite mo dito na vertical, perhaps? Consider.
Marami tayong favorite na vertical dyan.
Marami, di ba? Ayan. So it's
So,
challenging.
Yeah, and I think that the startup community, given its diversity, can definitely find one that suits what they're capable of, right? So perfect.
In fact, for some of my friends, I would just gladly, you know what, you have a startup. Why don't you come and pitch? It's an opportunity for you to attend, listen, and get a free ticket for the Philippine Fintech. You are a startup, you are an entrepreneur. We'd like to welcome you in our conference. So it's kind of like that, no?
Yes,
and this will be the one. Yeah.
So participating startups, especially those from Startup Village, abangan nyo na. We're gonna send you your free passes, right, to attend the festival for free, right? Valued at how much, Diego? So biro mo, binibigyan ka na ng chance mag-apply, right, so that you can connect with potential clients and, diba, maybe get you to Singapore, right? But at the same time, you're able to attend all of these wonderful sessions for free. Valued at, how much is it? I forget how much. It's malaki.
Well, the ticket itself right now is cost like 20,000 pesos.
Wow, 20,000 pesos, guys.
You know,
so watch out for our email and messages. We'll send you your complimentary passes, especially if you're from Startup Village.
Thank you very much, Carlo, for having us as partner. I mean, thank you. It's like helping as well each other through the years. Thank you. But one exciting here, I want to see more of MarkTech in the Philippines as well. Anyway, next slide, please. All right, Carlo, can you run through me with this just quickly? It's the usual mechanics for pitching, for startup pitching contest. The differences I would just like to highlight, because this is for the sake of speed and availability, depending, because there's always a problem submitting the presentation formats. It has to be through your cloud service with a URL, and you put in your file data and your video data or demo data at the same time. No USB, no email attachment. So that's the one thing that we are going to emphasize. However, please make sure that it is free from bugs and from phishing or from tracking cookies. Please make sure, or else it's a ground for disqualification. Thank you. Next slide, please. All right, so this Carlo, this is the day of Carlo, day in and day out. You can do this with eyes closed. So I just suggested the format for clarity of presentation. Next slide, please. And that's it. So for any questions, we just look at our emails or scan the QR code, and you can run straight to Carlo, Wei, and Mark as well, and Michael as well. So we open Saida, back to you.
Thank you, Diego, so much for the discussion. I'm sure that our guests will have more questions. So for that, please feel free to message us with the emails at chino@geysermaklang.com or jego@geysermaklang.com. So for the last part of the program, we would like to call again our expert on green finance from KPMG. Let us welcome back Attorney Michael Gavin.
Hello, good afternoon. Hello there. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, Diego and Saida, pleasure to see you in person, at least virtually, better than yesterday. So, hopefully my screen is already visible. Nikki, is it already being presented? For this afternoon, we prepared some slides. Hopefully, this will aid in terms of explaining green finance, sustainability, and the overall topic at hand. There. So once we're done in presentation mode. So again, it's good. There. So again, this is one of the main industries featured, or at least enumerated earlier. But but within KPMG, we are likewise active in smart cities and property technology type of support. We likewise support mobility and logistics companies in that area. And obviously, all of us are part of the overall energy sector. But nonetheless, for this afternoon, we'd like to focus on sustainable green finance and green investments. So I'm from the deal advisory group within KPMG, and majority of the slides that we are presenting this afternoon is really intended to give the participants a better appreciation of what's happening in the world and how it connects to sustainability, green finance, and green investments. Hopefully, by having a better appreciation of what's really happening around the world, we would be able to help you with your hackathon ideas and all of the other coding requirements that you will need to think about. Hopefully, we'll be value adding. Nikki, let's move on to the first slide. So essentially, there are several sources of information, right, that you can use as basis on why we should do something about climate change. Because technically, if climate change benefited us, if it made us richer, if it made us more prosperous, then it's a totally different conversation, right? But unfortunately, as a result of the onset of climate change, it's really more on the negative side. The risks involved for countries and individuals affected by climate change. So there's as I mentioned, there are several sources of information that we could have chosen to share with you this afternoon. But the chosen document for this afternoon would be the GCRI 2021, or the Global Climate Risk Index. So essentially, it's an index done almost every year by German Watch, and part of the things covered there would be, at the end of the day, the question would be, who really suffers the most from extreme weather events? So the report that I'll be sharing with you relates to effects made on specific countries, no? Not necessarily down to the micro as in individuals, but some of the tables that we will be presenting includes some of those information. And hopefully, as we build up that knowledge base of what's happening in the world, that will help you, come up with more ideas on what specific, how we can potentially solve some of the problems at hand. So maybe we can just dive right into it. On the next slide, hopefully it's big enough. Well, it hasn't changed it. Yes. So the 10 most affected countries in 2019. As far as we know, this would be the latest one currently available. No? But I mean, just to mention, so how do you normally read through this? So the global CRI, it is an analysis based on a lot of data sources. We can share with you later the actual data source, but it definitely includes socioeconomic data, weather information, population, and other demographics related matters. No, this 2019 data, we took it from the 2021 Risk Index, which is the 16th edition of this annual analysis. So it really is aimed, if you read through the briefing paper, it is aimed at contextualizing the ongoing policy debates. So, and the intention is trying to relate real life events with policy discussions, to say the least. No? So, looking through this table, you will see here the top 10 countries most affected in 2019. And then looking at the leftmost column first, no, 2019, those are the top 10, but enclosed in parentheses would be last year. So you would think that the countries that are in the top 10 in 2019 and that are in the 100 something in the prior year, maybe something devastating happened, no, in 2019 that made them, quote unquote, fall into or qualify into the top 10 most affected countries. So part of it would be, if you look at the number 3 on the list, would be the Bahamas, but in 2018 they were 135th. So and then the same examples would be for Zimbabwe, who's not normally within the top 10, and then as well as South Sudan. So I decided to choose this because, first of all, you will see here that it really covers the entire world. No? A lot of the countries here are in Africa, but nonetheless, we can likewise relate because Japan is in Asia Pacific, and even South Asia portion would be India for sure. And then even South America and the Americas are covered here. You will see, likewise see here the fatalities for the year, and as well as the pro rata share, fatalities per 100,000 inhabitants. So given this, maybe we can move on to the next slide. So this is a point in time, right? Where we just came from, 2019. But for me, one of the more interesting aspects would be, we don't necessarily need to look far, right? To feel and see the actual effects of climate change and the negative effects of it on us. So for example, the Philippines, we continue to be ranked as the 4th most affected, at least for the covered period 2000 to 2019. And again, a lot of these would even be in, Thailand is part of ASEAN, and then Myanmar as well. So, and Bangladesh. So, the fact that there are 4 ASEAN countries in this list merely shows how directly affected we are, at least based on information provided. And a lot of the causes, so to speak, for the Philippines, it does not only cover storms and hurricanes, but for other countries, it likewise includes earthquakes, tsunamis, wildfires, and drought. The thing is, there's the big irony that even for us Philippines, surrounded by water, one can argue that we do have even lack of water issues. So again, that can still be directly related to climate change. So on the next slide, Nikki. So it really is global. When you see here, the darker the orange color is, the more affected country or region. And a lot of it really is focused within our area of the world. So it's clear that the need to act and the need to do something about it is there. It's clear and present for all of us. So it's good that naturally there are specific projects, right, that need to be focused on to try to address and then minimize climate change related matters. So those are the projects. But on the next slide, at least within ASEAN, we are already on the right path in terms of coming up with the source of financing. So as you know, a bond, right? So it's a company would borrow money for a specific project. So it's like project finance. It could be project finance, but it could be corporate finance. So the reason why I chose this, the ASEAN Green Bond Market as of August 2020, 2 years ago, is just to demonstrate that there is already an existing green bond market. So as you know, and the reason why I chose this slide in particular, because it's from the Philippines, from the Aboitiz Group, who actually issued the first certified climate bond. So taking off from its name, a green bond or funds raised from green financing, they're directly meant to help with different infrastructure that are earth friendly and that are intended to minimize, right, a carbon footprint and to maximize renewable and sustainable types of projects. So green bonds, they're currently the most developed among the segments of thematic instruments. So I'm sure you've heard as well of blue finance, which is related to water, and even orange financing, any work or any funding related to gender equality. No? So, but the green bond market carries with it a greater recognition from the greater investor base. So, and actually there have been studies which mentions that to combat the effects of climate change, it is estimated that green bond issuances need to reach around 1 trillion per year. That's an estimate as of 2020. So taking into account inflation and also general passage of time, you would think that that $1 trillion per annum estimate would have already increased by this year, 2022. So again, climate change related issues is global, but nonetheless, specific to ASEAN, we're seeing that there are steps being undertaken to mobilize proper financing in order to help address green climate change issues. So something more specific to the Philippines, onto the next slide. I mean, we're not endorsing any of the companies, but there. So I selected some newspaper cutouts. So for example, AC Energy, they issued $400 million worth of senior green bonds. So this was from last year, 2021. So they said that the earnings from the issuance, they intend to use to fund solar power facilities, offshore wind projects and geothermal undertaking with direct emissions of less than 100 grams of carbon dioxide for per kilowatt hour. So they're really intended to, to support the greener types of development. So emphasis on the investments only for projects with direct emissions of less than 100 grams of carbon dioxide. So there's really a push, from companies to be able to support green projects. And then in the middle of the screen would be the BDO's green bonds. So they issued it. Earlier this year, largest corporate issue to date. No? So if you look through it, if you read through the papers, so the BDO raised funds, which in turn it intends to lend to green related projects. So for example, they do have eligibility criteria in 6 green areas and 2 social areas, green and social. So the green eligible categories are they're willing to lend to renewable energy projects, green buildings, clean transportation, resource efficiency, and pollution prevention and control. As far as social is concerned, any environmentally sustainable management of living natural resources and land use, and second, sustainable water and wastewater management. So hopefully, I've not had a chance to talk to the bank, but hopefully they've been able to deploy a big portion of this corporate issue. And then lastly, it's likewise good that Philippines, with the level of green bonds, the level of financing that we've raised through green types of instruments have been on the rise. So as mentioned here, if you read through that article, it will say that the green bond issuances by the Philippine government and private corporations have risen to around 2.8 billion. The 2.8 only in 2022 is actually bigger than the 2020 and 2021 combined funds raised. So again, it's exciting to be sharing this with you because there is already, I'd like to think, a strong momentum towards that solution. So any ideas that you may come up with that can help expedite or make it better in terms of monitoring would definitely be value adding. And then on to the next slide. I'm down to my last slide. Sorry about I'm doing a bit over time. So some of the specific to KPMG, we're also actively we'd like to be an active part of ESG and the sustainability movement. So we likewise have ESG services, and for example, assurance. There are disclosure requirements that needs to be complied with. We evaluate the supply chain of a big company or of any company to see how green compliant they are, for example. And then for companies that are still on the nascent stage of the development, we also help them with their climate risk and strategy positioning. So how can they pivot from their current, not necessarily green position into a green or greener type of pursuit. And then lastly, we also have clients who are interested in developing an overall strategy on how to be more compliant with ESG, types of principles. And then on the last slide, just wanted to share this as well. So just to give you a better idea, what specific developments are we talking about? I enumerated earlier the types of projects that BDO would lend out to. I'm sure there are also other Philippine banks who would have similar criteria. But in this case, I decided to add any projects related to energy efficiency, number 1, green transport, number 2, renewable energy, number 3, and waste to energy. Those are the types of specific projects that can definitely help with sustainability and overall to try to resolve, hopefully to slow down, and then to the extent possible to better manage climate risk related issues and problems. So I'll stop at that. It has been nice sharing with all of you this afternoon. I apologize to the organizers for doing overtime, but I hope it was time well spent and happy to
No
answer.
apology needed. It's phenomenal, Michael, and we're just glued. We're just all silent and listening to you. Great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, boss.
It helped us a lot. Thank you very much. If you combine this together, what Michael has just mentioned, together with the problem statements, I'm sure you're now more confident to hack on a green finance application, and you're going to be easily funded. Okay. So, Saida, are we going to open the floor now for Ask Me Anything?
Uh,
Yes.
Yes, so just to reiterate, we'd like to thank Michael Garin so much for his part. So unfortunately we are very excited to get through this. However, we really have to cut this short. So that's it for today. Thank you so much, Carlo, Wei, Attorney Michael, and Diego. We've certainly learned so much about the hackathon, and we are very excited to see keen registrants participate in this event. That's it for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to attend the Philippine Fintech Festival Hackathon AMA this afternoon. Mabuhay sa inyong lahat and maraming salamat.
Nice meeting you, Carlo. Wei.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Good to see
And
you.
just to
Nice to meet you,
correct,
everybody.
I'm not a lawyer, regular professional. So it's nice to have an additional degree. Instant.
we won't use it against you.
All right.
All right. Looking
Take
forward
care,
to
Thank
it,
you very
everybody.
much. Thank
See you,
See you,
Diego.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.